Welcome to Shalin Edit, my people, the podcast where Muslimah entrepreneurs talk about what it really takes to build, grow, and stay grounded. I'm Maisha, and today's guest is Yusra. She's the brilliant mind behind Finally Asleep. She actually turned her exhausting journey through motherhood into a calling that helps families reclaim their sleep. So let's learn from her, and we're just going to dive right into this. Starting off, for those who are new to Finally Asleep, how do you describe what you do?
I help exhausted parents get the rest they most desperately need. So, pretty much, I help them teach their child to sleep independently so that they, as well as parents, can finally sleep well too. So, I work with different methods, and I create customized plans that are specifically designed for the family based on the child's temperament. I look at the family routine. I look at a lot of different things and I create the customized sleep plan. And then I provide support to the clients in order to help them reach the goals.
Oh, I love how customized that is.
Yeah, for sure. Just because, at the end of the day, every child is different. So we have to customize accordingly. And sometimes we need to adjust the plan or change the plan just based on how the child is reacting to things as well.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And what inspired you to start this in the first place?
Honestly, I really, really struggled with my own two kids and sleep. It was extremely exhausting. For a full year with my eldest child, I could not sleep. Like it took me forever to put her to sleep, and when she would finally go to sleep, she would wake up so often, and it was an absolute disaster. And only after sleep training her did I actually finally start to get rest. And then the same thing happened with my second child. I thought that I should have sleep trained her earlier because, you would think that you learned from the first kid, but no, I still waited a bit to sleep train her and again, super exhausted. So, um, honestly, after seeing what a huge difference it makes to actually have a child that is sleeping well, I wanted to help other parents and moms feel the same way because it is absolutely life changing to go from sleep deprived zombie every day to actually being rested.
Wow, I love what you're doing. It's very important what you're doing. Like, of course, I'm not a mother, but I can only imagine like the struggles that mothers would go through.
Yeah, it's very interesting because, on average, newborn parents, they only get 3 hours of sleep per night. And then the other problem is a lot of the times, maybe dad gets paternity leave, so he's off for maybe a few weeks, but after that, it's usually a lot of pressure on just mom alone, and she is exhausted all day and then all night long. So, sleep deprivation is definitely a very real thing. And I just want to kind of show parents that there are other options. You don't have to suffer for several years on end because a lot of parents are waiting for that time. They're like, okay, this won't last forever. They'll start to sleep better. But to be honest, I work with kids all the way up till 7 years old. So that means that a lot of kids who are even 5 years old, 7 years old, they're still not sleeping really well. I had a client who told me she had not slept well for 5 years because her child was 5 years old and she was waiting this whole time for sleep to get better. And it never did. Only after we worked together did she finally start sleeping through the night. So it's definitely a lot.
Wow, that's 3 hours is actually crazy. I don't even remember doing that during exam seasons.
I know, right? I know. And it's hilarious because, even I, as a university student and throughout my life, like I worked multiple jobs. When I was in my fourth year of university, I was a full-time student and I was working two part-time jobs as well. And I thought that was like, I thought my life was so busy and so crazy and I could handle anything. And then I became a parent and I'm like, wow, that was easy before. And it was just like absolutely shocking because after like the true sleep deprivation, you really realize that those moments were actually a lot easier. And now you have no choice, right? At least with your jobs and stuff, if you're really suffering, you could take a day off or something like that. But when you're a parent, you can't. You always have to be on. So it's really a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Like being a parent, it's a 24/7 job that never really goes away.
Exactly.
So, finally asleep, like your brand name, it's a very straightforward name, and honestly, I love it. Can you tell us the story behind it?
Thank you. Yes, for sure. Honestly, you know, there's a lot of times in life for a parent where they are, in a dark room trying so hard to get their child to sleep. They're rocking them, they're trying to feed them to sleep, they're doing everything and anything, trying to shove that pacifier down their throat. And it's really hard to get them to sleep. And when you hear that your child is finally asleep, there's like this joy, happiness, relief, calmness that comes to you. And that's exactly what I wanted my brand name to come with. I wanted parents to feel that, like my child is finally asleep. What they feel with those two words, I wanted them to feel all of that when they thought of my brand name, because that's essentially what I'm trying to help them get to that point where their child is finally sleeping. So that's how, and that's where it came from. And it was a very quick decision too for that brand name. I know some people take, you know, days and weeks to decide, or like months to decide their brand name, but it was just so clear to me that it had to be Finally Asleep, and it just worked out that no one else had the business name and the Instagram name. Everything was still open, so it just worked out really well.
Wow, that's amazing. That name was meant to be then.
I know, that's what I think too.
What's something you're actually excited about in your work right now?
You know, a lot of people look down on sleep training just because everything that comes with it, and it's not really something that is common in a lot of cultures. So, what I am a little bit excited about is the awareness that has been coming up these days, or at least for the past few months and years, where people are recognizing the importance of sleep for the whole family, honestly. Because if the child is not sleeping well, then usually mom is not sleeping well, which means that she's usually complaining to dad, who is then maybe not sleeping well. And if you live with other people in the household, of course, it can impact them as well. So there's a lot of awareness, I think, that is growing around the importance of sleep for the entire family, and more parents are recognizing that reaching out for support, it's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a way to show up better for their kids and themselves. So I really am happy about that, because there's a lot of guilt that comes with sleep training, and parents feel like it's a selfish decision for them as parents. But what what I hope people are realizing is that it's not really a selfish decision for parents, because the child starts to sleep so much better too. And when the child is sleeping better, and then you as a parent are sleeping better too, then you can actually show up well for that parent throughout, or for that child throughout the day, because you actually have your full battery recharged, rather than being, again, a zombie all throughout the day. So that's something that is a little bit exciting. Of course, that is something that is still to be worked on, because again, it's a very controversial topic, sleep training, but I'm glad that more and more people are slowly coming to realize the benefits of it.
Yeah, inshallah, there will be more and more awareness on this. And actually, I wanted you as a guest on my podcast because this is such an important thing that you're doing.
Yeah, inshallah. I really hope so too. And as you said, I mean, a lot of the families that I work with, they are barely getting any sleep. Like, I don't know if you can even imagine, some of them are waking up every single hour. So it's really, really life changing. And I do hope that, people start to realize the benefits of it. For sure, it is challenging when you're doing it sometimes, but I think the benefits definitely outweigh the negatives.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to move on to like the spark of like the specific moments and such, you know? Like, was there a specific moment you knew you wanted to turn this into a business, or was it something that built up slowly?
Honestly, it was very quick. I did not, honestly, okay, I think that I briefly thought about it when I first sleep trained my kids, but I didn't really think to pursue anything. I just thought about it for a minute, and I was like, no, I have a full-time job. I'm not doing this. But then it was actually when I helped my friend who lives in Norway sleep train her child just from everything like the knowledge that I knew, and I would just help people. So I helped her via text. Of course, there's a huge time difference because I'm in Canada and she's in Norway. So I was literally texting her at probably 3 a.m. my time, trying to help her through, bedtime texting, nap time. Support and all of that. And at the end, her child started to sleep so well. And my poor friend, she's like a doctor in training, so she had very little time herself. So she really needed her child to be able to sleep without her. So the sleep training really helped her. And I just told some of my cousins that I helped, and they said, you should actually do this and start to help other people. And so from there, I spoke to my husband, and everyone was very supportive in those. This is all within 6 hours, by the way. And then I started my business. I
Wow.
had my Instagram page by the end of the night. It was very, very quick.
Oh, wow. I love it. Wow. That's like, I'm speechless. That's so fast.
I know it was extreme. It was probably it's funny because I don't usually make such quick decisions, especially things that are this big. But it was the one of the quickest decisions I ever make. Like it takes me weeks to decide on a rug to buy. It took me months to decide which stroller to buy, but I started this business within a few hours. So it was definitely interesting and funny.
Wow. Yeah, I'm very impressed. So it's nice that you had so many people supporting you, but I was wondering, who was your like first biggest supporter? Like someone who just really backed you up?
Honestly, I think it was my cousin and husband, to be honest. Like within those few hours, that's where I made the decision, and it was them backing me up and being so supportive that kind of helped. Essentially, they were like, you're pretty good at this, and look, you were able to help someone so far away, like in Norway, and they came out successful. And they thought that my temperament and how I speak, I suppose, can be helpful. I've always been helpful to people in some ways in terms of providing advice, I suppose, but I never thought of it in terms of a career or something like this. So yeah, I think honestly my husband and my cousin, they were very, very supportive. And then even my friend in Norway, when I did tell her, her and her husband both were very supportive too, because they had just kind of experienced what it would be like as me as a sleep consultant. So they were like, you should absolutely help other people because we were struggling and suffering. And if you didn't help us, then we would just, continue to struggle and suffer. So I know I said quite a few people, but they were all very important within those 5 to 6 hours where I made the decision for sure.
Oh, that's good. I love that. And I want to know, like, milestone wise, what made you think, like, okay, this is really, really happening?
Yeah, I think that I would say, honestly, when I got my first client who wasn't just, like a friend or like a family friend or a friend of a friend, like someone who actually found me online and trusted me with their child's sleep. They were actually willing to pay money to someone they didn't know to get sleep help. That was a very oh my God moment that some stranger is essentially willing to trust me with their child's sleep and go through this process with me. So it kind of showed, it's not just an idea anymore. It was actually a real business that's making an impact. Especially when the child did really well. That was just amazing when we finished working together and the parents were so happy, and it was just an amazing moment, I think, that really showed, okay, I can do this.
Going a little off, like, sidetrack, I guess, I was wondering, if you don't mind me asking, what's your MBTI?
I'm sorry, what in the world does that stand for?
Oh, that's the Myers-Briggs personality test. Like, I remember doing that in school. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I don't think so.
Oh,
BTI.
mhm.
But now I want to know because I have no idea. Um, but yeah, I actually have no idea what it is. 'Cause I've never heard of it before.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have an idea of what you could be, but I'm gonna let you figure it out.
I'm thinking that if there's one that, see, I don't know what like the options and stuff are, but if there's something that is like, I suppose people focused or empathetic or something like that, then maybe something like that.
Yeah, there are like 16 types. Highly recommend you look into it. It's kind of a fun thing to like do and find out about.
Oh yeah, no, now I'm curious, so I will look into it. And 16, yeah, I definitely don't know them.
Yeah, and apparently it can be a mix of like a few. It's not really just one, so it does get a little complicated there too.
Hmm, interesting. Well, what's yours? I know the podcast is about me, but I'm curious.
And I'm actually a mix of ISTJ and ISFJ. So like ISFJ, they're more like the nurturing type, but then ISTJ, they're like very practical. Well, both are kind of.
Oh, very interesting. And I cannot believe I've never heard like these letters together before. Because it's a common thing that people know. I must live under a rock.
And I only learned about it through school. Sorry, I'm like going off topic.
Oh, that's
I just got
okay.
curious.
That's okay. I'm just wondering, like based on what I studied, should I have known what this was? I don't know.
Honestly, it's fair. I mean, not everyone knows it. But yeah, continuing on. Sorry, I just got sidetracked.
No, that's
Um,
okay.
so how did building Finally Asleep change you as a person?
I'd say that it has probably made me more patient and empathetic. I will say, like, it's not like I was, a very impatient or, um, not an understanding person before. I think that I've always had those things, but honestly, after working with all these families and, seeing how emotional of a process it is and how exhausting it can be, it really did help me learn to listen quite deeply and, celebrate the small wins with them too. And it also, I think, gave me confidence that I can build something from scratch and make it meaningful because I've never really done anything like this before. It was never my plan to start a business or anything like that. So it's really nice to see that I was actually able to build something from nothing overnight, quite literally. And yeah, I think that it definitely helped bring that confidence as well that I can do it.
So this perfectly segues into my next question. So how would little Yusra react if she saw you today?
She would be beyond surprised because this is not something I ever even thought or planned to do, let alone being a sleep consultant. But again, even starting a business is not something that I ever thought to do. I'm very into stability and I have always thought that that kind of comes with, a permanent job at like a big company or something like that where although that's not all that stable these days with layoffs, but still, like, I just thought that, having something more career based with like benefits, like, like a full time kind of job like that, that was always my goal. I never ever intended to start a business. So she would be extremely surprised also that I have always been the person that wouldn't even hold a baby. Like when my eldest cousin had a baby, I remember she was like, "Hold her, Yusra, hold her," and I'm like, "No, I don't want to hold her." So it's just funny that I am now working in a business that works all around kids and newborn babies and stuff like that when I wouldn't even touch or hold another baby. So definitely be very surprised.
Wow, yeah, I can relate to you on that part, like the baby.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think I was comfortable holding, even when my brother had his daughter, I would like freeze. Like, if I had to hold her, I would not move. Like, I would stop breathing. I'd just be like holding her, just focusing on holding her. I would not walk around. I would just sit there frozen. And then someone had to come and take her out of my lap, kind of thing. So, yeah, it's hilarious, I suppose, how things change once you become a parent.
Yeah, that makes me wonder what I'll be like as a parent then, to be honest.
To be honest, I still am not a fan of holding other babies. I still have like a bit of I don't know, should I do this? But if I'm forced to, I suppose I will. But I prefer to to still not. So I guess maybe you'll still be like that, but only be okay with holding your own kid.
Yeah, honestly, that could be the case. That sounds more like me. Of course, with every business, there comes struggles. So I was wondering what's a behind the scenes moment in your journey that was really tough, but most people don't usually see it.
So I would definitely say with everything that I do, so I don't know if a lot of people know, but I still have my full-time job. So again, because I'm obsessed with stability, I didn't actually quit my full-time job. So I work my full-time job, I have my two kids, and then I have my business as well. So it's a lot of it's a lot of stuff that I have to juggle and balancing all of this. So balancing all this work and also the fact that I do bedtime and overnight support, that is really hard with my own kids. Like pretty much if I am doing bedtime texting support for my client, then that means that, my husband has to come in and help with my own kids' bedtime and stuff. And then if I'm doing overnight support, so I offer texting from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., then that means that I barely get any sleep that night because I had to be awake texting all night. So all of that is very tough in itself. And a lot of people don't realize that or see that. And I think some people don't even realize that I have kids myself because when they realize, they're like, how do you do overnight texting all night? And then you're awake for your kids in the morning. And I'm like, yeah, it's really hard. So that's definitely something that I think people don't see. But it's definitely been a challenge, and I mean, it still remains a challenge for sure. But I think that is something that will become easier once the kids are maybe older.
Yeah, inshallah, it will become easier. Yeah, going based off of that, what's a challenge that you face, like whether in with like finally asleep or like personally that like you had to overcome and how do you overcome it?
I think prioritizing has been hard just because, again, with like managing everything that I do from my full-time work and then my two kids, and then, even just managing the house, who has the time for all of this? Like that has been probably my biggest challenge doing all of this at once. I realize some people do things a little bit more broken down, like, maybe they have their business and then their family, or they work a full-time job and they have their family. So doing all of this has been the biggest challenge, and the way that I have to or have learned to navigate it is really, prioritizing and blocking off time, and even asking for help, which is something that I don't really do all that much. So that has been really helpful, I suppose. When I say asking for help, it's not I still I'm hesitant to ask other people for help, but my husband is very helpful. So, you know, um, essentially creating systems with him and working together so that I'm able to provide like bedtime texting support or overnight texting support for my clients. That's really helpful. So, for example, if I have an overnight texting support client, then my husband tries to take on my kids in the morning so that I can at least get a few hours of sleep. So that's the main way that I'm able to even balance all of this.
You've got a lot on your plate, honestly. I don't know how you're doing it all, but that makes sense. Prioritizing, time blocking, those are good things to do.
Yeah, otherwise I definitely don't think that I could do it. And also, that I guess the nice thing about having a business is that you can make all the decisions. So if I know that I have a crazy work week for my day job, then I will move my clients around, or I won't take on additional clients for that week. So that is also really helpful to have that flexibility and being able to choose the start dates for my clients.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So I also wanted to know, do you feel like your identity as a Muslimah adds extra layers of pressure or like any sort of judgment to your work? And how do you deal with that?
Yeah, for sure. Especially in the line of work that I'm in, where no one really, many people are not supportive of, sleep consultants and sleep training in general. So I do feel there's a lot of pressure and a lot of judgment in terms of my work. There are moments where I think that, I have to work maybe twice as hard to be taken seriously by some sort of people or communities. And there's definitely judgment, I think, in terms of what I do and the balancing of everything that comes with it. It's just because, with sleep training, there's a lot of crying that can happen, and many people are not supportive of that. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of that comes with it. But what I think I try my best to do and think about is just remembering that my job isn't to please everyone. My intention is to serve families with integrity and helping them get through the nights, helping them and actually making a difference in their lives. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what all the people in the background are thinking and saying and all that background noise that they come with. I know what my purpose is, and that's to help my clients. And when my clients are actually succeeding and they are doing well, then you know, even they will say, like, I had one client who said she made dua for me when her daughter actually fell asleep. And this is my client who would wake up every hour. So, I think what I do and how I help families kind of speaks for itself. And at the end of the day, whoever wants to pass judgment or think whatever they want to think without actually knowing really a lot about child sleep and understanding it, they can continue doing that, and I will continue helping families when I can.
Mashallah, I love your mindset. The other thing I want to know was how does your faith shape your definition of success?
I think that success isn't necessarily just about money or numbers, and perhaps a previous version of me wouldn't have said that. But, my new mindset over the past few years has been more about thinking along the lines of what I'm doing and whether I am serving people in a way that is pleasing to Allah. So I feel like my business, it feels like an amana, a trust. So I think that really helps shape what I do and the values that I keep.
Have you ever made a business decision just purely off of Iman, even if it like didn't make any sense financially?
Yes, I definitely think so. I feel like, sometimes the clients that I work with, and this happens a lot of the times actually, if a mom is reaching out, usually maybe she's not actually working, maybe she, left her job to take care of her child full time, maybe she's on EI, and we all know that EI does not pay all that much. So there's a lot of different things that come with, the finances in terms of sleep consulting, and a lot of people actually will not even go ahead with sleep consulting services only because of the amount that it's associated with usually. So I luckily for most clients like that have insurance coverage, I don't know if you know this, but if they have insurance coverage and social work coverage, then my services can be covered. So that really helps out a lot of clients. But for those who don't have insurance, for example, and they're paying out of pocket, and if they tell me their situation and it's a real struggle, then at the end of the day I really truly want to help them. So I have not necessarily just thought about the money and the pricing, and I'll offer flexibility when it feels right. And what I'm doing is trusting that baraka comes from doing the right thing and not just what fills my pockets the most, if that makes sense. So definitely I do make decisions purely based on iman that definitely probably don't make financial sense, but I'm just trusting that baraka will still come, inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah, it will come. I didn't know that it was covered by insurance. That's actually my first time hearing that. So that's good to know.
Yeah, to be honest, many times it's not. It's just because my whole social work program is supervised by a social worker. So that's why mine, like specifically for me as a sleep consultant, my services can be covered by social work, but a lot of other sleep consultants, theirs is not covered by insurance. Or depending on the insurance company, some people have a health spending account, so their insurance may or may not reimburse, depending on how strict they are.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense then. You have so much like knowledge about this, so I want to like take some tips off of you, you know?
Of course.
So the first thing I'd like to know is what's one common bedtime mistake you see parents make, and what's one quick tip that they could try tonight instead?
I think one of the most common mistakes I have been seeing is that parents are actually waiting quite too long to put their child down. A lot of parents think that, if they make their child extra tired, it means that they're going to sleep better. Or, like, if they skip their nap, then they're going to have so much sleep pressure that they're going to definitely sleep through the night, right? Like, a lot of people think that. And I suppose it makes sense in theory, but in reality, overtiredness makes it harder. So if your child isn't getting sufficient daytime sleep, or if you are pushing them like beyond what they can actually handle, and maybe they should have been in bed at 8 and you're putting them in at 11 thinking if you put them in at 11 p.m. then at least they'll sleep through the night, often backfires. So I would say definitely, watch their sleep cues, watch their windows based on their age, watch for, like, that first yawn, the eye rubs, and try putting them down a little bit earlier than you usually would. And you can see how well that usually can help, not putting child down overtired. They'll actually sleep better usually.
When a parent is feeling frustrated or helpless during a sleepless night, what's a mindset shift that you'd recommend?
So if it's a parent that is not sleep training and has not started, or not thinking about sleep training and just in general dealing with a sleepless night, I would remind them that this is a temporary phase. Instead of thinking, why won't they sleep, which is a very common thing to think, try shifting to maybe my child needs me right now, right? It doesn't erase the exhaustion, but it does reframe the moment with more compassion, because if you're thinking of it like that, then usually it makes it a little bit more easier for the parent to be in it in that moment. Now, if it is a parent that is feeling frustrated because of sleepless night and they're in the sleep training process, it's a little bit different because it's we're gonna reframe the mindset. And if it's a parent who is having a tough time like during sleep training, then again I would say that it is temporary. It's a learning phase. The child is learning a new skill. And as with anything, things take time. So just try to be very patient. Think of the long term and why you're doing this, and try to stay calm, patient, persistent throughout the process, and then you will start to see results.
Just more on the entrepreneurial end now, are there any tools, apps, or like little hacks that you personally use just to stay consistent with your schedule and your workflow?
Honestly, I'm pretty basic. I keep it simple. My calendar is my lifeline. So for scheduling appointments and meetings, everything like that, everything is really helpful with my calendar. And then I just use regular note app for brain dumps or batching tasks, so I don't waste energy essentially switching between too many things. I find that helps. But yeah, I like to keep it simple and I don't make it too complicated.
Yeah, honestly, I noticed the simple stuff are kind of underrated.
Right? I know, because some people are
Mhm.
like, I have this app and it does this, and then I have this tracker and it does that. I'm like, okay, this is too much for me. Like, I don't have all this time to go over all these different things. I need it to be super simple and easy and quick.
Yeah, same here. And do you have like a go-to micro routine for when you're exhausted, but you still need to get work done?
Yeah, this is pretty much me every single day. So I will, depending on what time it is, I'll either grab, coffee or water. And I try to set like 30-minute timers, and I pick the most important thing that I need to do within those 30 minutes. So I try to just focus for those 30 minutes, like or 20 to 30 minutes, so that it actually makes it manageable. And I do this a lot, usually at nighttime, because I can pretty much during the daytime, I work on my full-time job, and then after my kids are asleep is when I do my sleep plans and things like that. So kind of just block off like, okay, I have 30 minutes. In the next 30 minutes, I'm gonna create this sleep plan or do something like that. So I find that helps.
Yeah, I love all the tips that you gave us. So, something that I usually do is like a lightning round. That's kind of like a light round that I just do for fun. So, what will happen is I'll basically give you a sentence and you just fill in the blanks. You ready?
Yes.
All right. So, first, finish the sentence is people call it sleep training, but I call it blank.
Teaching the child to sleep independently. So, I feel like when people are thinking of sleep training, they're thinking, oh, it's like this forced, terrible thing that you're doing. But what we're really doing and what sleep training, all it actually means is we are teaching a child to sleep independently. That's it. However they get there, whichever method is used, in the end, all sleep training is just teaching the child to actually fall asleep independently without any other sleep association. So we are just guiding them to learn that new skill rather than, the harshness that comes with what people think when they hear the words sleep training. It's actually just like sleep teaching. We're just teaching. We're not doing anything evil. We're just teaching them a new skill. Like, when you teach a child to eat on their own or you teach them to ride a bike or things like that. So, um, instead of like sleep training, I suppose it's kind of like teaching.
Okay, yeah. I'm just letting that sink in.
I know. It's like a complete different mindset shift too, I think, because I don't think people really realize that that's all it is. We're just teaching the child a new skill. That's all we're doing. So there's a lot of you know, controversy that comes with sleep training, but it's funny because at the end of the day, all we are doing is teaching a child a skill. You wouldn't fight so hard if someone was trying to teach their child to feed themselves, or if you were trying to teach a child to, ride their bike, or if you were trying to teach them to stack blocks or something. No one would fight that. But there's a lot of pushback when it comes to teaching a child to sleep by themselves.
Yeah, that's true. And sleep is important. So
Exactly.
I don't get the fight, but oh well. And right, next, finish the sentence. Tired parents often feel blank, but I like to remind them blank.
Tired parents often feel defeated, but I like to remind them they're not failing. They're just human, right? There's a path. There's a path forward. There's a plan in place. It takes time, patience, consistency, and they'll get there.
That was a lovely answer. And now for the next one. If I could outsource one part of my day, it would be blank.
If I can say cleaning the kitchen at night, that'd be great.
Oh, that is a struggle.
That is my biggest struggle every night. I'm like, oh my God, I can't deal with this. Especially after the kids throw food like on the floor and then it's like stained. It's like, how many times can a person possibly mop?
Oh no.
I know, I just unlocked a new fear of yours for the future, right?
Yeah, kinda. But at least I'm going to go into this aware, so I'm glad I know now.
Exactly. See, that's the right mindset.
Thank you. And now for our final finish the sentence. What's one guilty pleasure you let yourself have while working?
Chocolate? I love chocolate.
Honestly, chocolate is goated, so yeah, that's fair.
Chocolate and TV. Sometimes it's nice to have like a background show that I don't really have to focus on, but it's nice to have there, especially when I'm doing like my sleep plans. Then it's helpful to have um I guess, like my one of I think the easiest show that I have in the background is usually Gilmore Girls because I used to love it growing up. So usually I have that in the background and I'm working on my sleep plans and then I have my chocolate on the side. And that's how I get my sleep plans done.
Wow, I love that. It's like, because I just vision, like, of course, as someone who's like running a podcast, just being hyper focused on one thing. But I love how you're like kind of mixing these things. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the end of the lightning round. So, this part is more so for you. If you could send a like a voice message to your future self 5 years from now, what would you say to her?
I'd probably say I hope that you are still doing what you're doing. I hope that you're still, putting families first, and helping all the struggling parents with sleep. And I hope that you have expanded your business. Um, but no, like I hope that you know that you have done a lot of work to get to where you are, and um, just even if things, I guess, for 5 years from now, I can't say for sure what exactly I'll be doing. I imagine I'm still doing this, but who knows for sure. So if things do look differently than what you had planned, then don't worry. Trust that that's exactly what was supposed to happen, and there's no issues with that either.
Either way, we're here for you, future Yusra.
Thank you.
No problem. And what's your no BS message to aspiring Muslim entrepreneurs out there?
Honestly, I'd have to say, don't wait until things feel perfect. Start with whatever you have. Remember, especially like from my story, you saw that I started my business within hours. I spent so many years thinking like, oh, I'll have like what should I do as a side business? Maybe I could do this, maybe I could do that. And I thought like so much about it, but it never actually came to anything. But when I realized this could work, it was very, very quick. And I didn't think like, oh, but I don't have this in place, or oh, I'm not certified yet. After I decided to actually started my business first and then I got certified, funny enough. So just be clear on your intention, put in the work, and trust Allah with the results. And just remember also, this one is important, I think, for people to remember. Your worth isn't tied to how fast you grow your business either, right? Like, again, I started my business and then I put myself in a whole certification program. So I was doing that for a few months first. So, of course, I wasn't really growing my business at that time because I was just learning and getting certified. So, yeah, also remember that, it doesn't matter how quickly it happens, just take the first steps and it will happen.
Well, thank you so much, Yusra. I love that you dropped so much wisdom here today. And I want to ask for anyone who wants to connect with you or learn more about your work, where can they find you online?
So I'm on Instagram at finally asleep, and I also have a website which is www.finallyasleep.ca. And both of these resources, I pretty much share different tips or resources, and there's also details about what I offer, and even like if you're interested in the social work packages, I have different sections on that as well.
Again, thank you so much, Yusra, for coming today. That's a wrap. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun. I've never done a podcast before, so this was nice.
You did great. And again, thank you for the wisdom. I learned so much from you today. Really appreciate it.
Yay, I'm so glad. That's exactly what I want, just for people to, become more aware of what I do, and hopefully we can help fight all that comes with, the backlash that comes with sleep training. And I think awareness is what will do that.
Yes, inshallah, inshallah. Like,
And
there's no more controversy around this in the future. And that's a wrap. If this episode inspired you, hit follow, share it with one friend who really needs this nudge, and also try one tip Yusra shared tonight, then DM us your results. Until next time, keep your hustle graceful and your dreams loud.